6.8 million years ago, the world was untouched, vast, wild, and deadly. The trees were giants, the rivers endless, and the air heavy with the scent of danger. There were no roads, no houses, no names, just raw nature. And a small group of early humans trying to survive. They had no tools, no fire, no language, only instinct, hunger, and the first spark of thought. Deep in the African jungle, their stomachs groaned with emptiness. They searched for any berries, insects, but one man saw something different. High above, glistening in the sunlight, a beehive, hanging from a tree like a treasure chest full of golden honey. He stared for a long time, calculating, imagining. How could he reach it? He had never climbed that high. The bees, they were dangerous. But hunger was stronger than fear. Slowly, he began his ascent, gripping branches, inching higher, heart pounding. As he reached for the hive, he hesitated. Then a sharp rip, and suddenly chaos. The bees erupted in a swarm, furious, loud and unrelenting. They stung his face, neck, arms, everywhere. He shouted, panicked, and began to slide down the tree, slipping, falling, crashing into the earth and, finally sprinting toward the river. The rest of the group screamed and scattered. Some ran through the thick jungle. Others ducked behind stones and branches. The man, covered in stings, leaped into the river, disappearing under the surface. The bees hovered, then retreated. For the first time, they learned that nature fights back and survival demands sacrifice. That night, the group sat quietly. The man emerged from the water, shaking, swollen, but alive. And in his hand, crushed and sticky, was a small chunk of honey. They tasted it, sweet, golden, like nothing they had ever known. It wasn't just food. It was victory. They didn't speak, but in their eyes, something had changed. They had thought, they had planned, they had risked. Days passed. The jungle remained unforgiving. Fruit was scarce. The hunger returned. This time, they turned to the river. Clear. Water flowed over smooth stones. Beneath the surface, something moved. Fish. They had seen it before, but now, they watched closer. The fish were fast, slippery. One man lunged in, another threw a rock. It scattered the fish. Useless. So they sat again, thinking, watching, planning. One picked up a long branch, broke the end, and sharpened it against stone. Another copied him. Together, they carved wooden spears, simple but powerful, and with those spears, they entered the water slowly, surrounding the fish from all sides. Every movement was cautious, deliberate. Then a thrust, a splash. One spear struck. A fish wriggled violently, impaled on its tip. The others followed. 2 more fish were caught. For the first time, a hunt was successful. They emerged from the river wet, cold but grinning, primitive joy in their eyes. They had outsmarted their prey. Back at the camp, they fish chewed slowly. It was tough, strange, and bloody, but it filled them. That night, the skies darkened. A cold wind crept through the trees. The jungle, once alive with birds and insects, now fell eerily silent. The cold stung their skin. Shivers ran through their bones. They huddled together under leaves and branches, but it wasn't enough. One man stared at the dry grass. His fingers twitched. He remembered the sparks the weight of stones struck and made light. Could that become heat? He picked up 2 flat rocks, rubbed them. Nothing. Rubbed again, still. Nothing. The others watched. He struck harder. Then a spark had vanished. Again, another spark. And this time it caught. A single thread of smoke, a glow, and then flames. Their eyes widened. They leaned forward cautiously, hands outstretched. Warmth, light, power. Fire had arrived. They fed it dry sticks, leaves, bark, anything that would burn. The fire roared higher. They took their fish and held it over the flame awkwardly. It burned, then smoked, then crackled. The smell new, strange, but irresistible. They tasted it, cooked food, soft, warm, easier to chew. It satisfied their hunger like nothing before. That night, they didn't just survive. They sat in a circle. They felt safe. They laughed, in their own silent way. Some rubbed mud on their bodies to hold in the heat. Others danced slowly by the flames. For the first time, they rested, but their minds didn't stop. One man stared into the fire, watching it flicker, fade, and rise again. He wondered, how could it be made faster? Could it be moved? Controlled? They began gathering stones, building small circles to hold it. They tested different woods. Over days and nights, they learned what burned bright and what smoked too much. Fire became their tool, their guardian, their weapon. As days turned into weeks, they sharpened their wooden spears into finer points. Some added stone edges to them. One man began shaping rocks, flint, sharp and deadly. The first tools were forming. They learned to use smoke to drive animals. They placed rocks and fire to make meat cook better. They dug shallow pits to store fish and protect it from other predators. They were building routines, patterns, memory, and with that came intelligence. They no longer just reacted to the world. They began shaping it, from bees to fish, from rivers to fire, from panic to purpose. Each experience, each failure and success taught them something. They passed that knowledge through example, gesture, repetition. They hunted smarter, moved in groups, protected their young. They became more than just survivors. They became creators of survival. The jungle was still wild, the nights still cold, but something had shifted. They had discovered that unity brought strength, that fire brought safety, that tools brought control. In the great silence of the ancient world, their flame rose not just from stone but from thought. 6.8 million years ago, the first spark of humanity was lit not just by fire, but by curiosity, strategy, and instinct. And that spark became a torch, one that would be carried for millions of years across deserts, oceans, empires, and into space. This is where our story truly begins. Subscribe now for more ancient stories from the origin of humankind.